obviously Riyadh season is crazy, and this is an extension of that in a way. And I never expected, people say, how long will this, Riyadh season and boxing in Saudi Arabia last? Now you've seen the commitment. This is a further commitment from His Excellency. It's just wild. Like, how can you sit there? I mean, we live off trying to raise, revenue for the event, driving a big gate. Now you've got spectacles that aren't gate dependent, like this, where you're shutting down Times Square for a fight. And I think for the profile of the sport, it's incredible, because boxing at the moment is red hot,
How many seats actually will be in Times Square?
I think that's one to be discussed. I don't think that necessarily, obviously this isn't a show for seats. Do you know what I mean? This is a show for a live spectacle, and the vision that these people have is like anything I've ever seen before. I mean, when you're sitting there and they're talking about Alcatraz and underneath Brooklyn Bridge and shutting down London Bridge in the UK, like you've never seen it before. And actually, when you actually think about it, it's super smart, because we sit there as promoters saying there's no gate, but the bigger picture is the fascination of tuning in. You imagine if you did an event in Alcatraz, like the casual fans that would tune in and go, what on earth is going on here? And this is the vision that these people have.
Eddie Hearn.
How do you feel about that?
Really?
Yeah, come on.
I believe this event, I mean, we're involved in the operations of the event, and, I believe this will be done at the highest possible level, as always, everything they do.
Eddie, I gotta ask you, Eddie. I mean, it just happened last weekend. First question, Tank Roach, what are your thoughts on the draw, and who do you think won it?
Do you know what, honestly, I haven't watched the fight. We had a show that night, I haven't watched the full fight. One thing that's kind of baffling is that it wasn't a knockdown. I mean, look, he wasn't hurt, there's no doubt about that, but if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, that he should be disqualified, he went back to the corner, I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation. For me, like, there was a lot of people in boxing that were saying that this is a really tough fight. Like, Lamont Roach is a serious fighter. I said it might not be the biggest profile fight, but it's actually quite a tough fight. And Shakur said to me, like, even the day before, I'm telling you, he's going to have big trouble tomorrow night. And I just feel like hopefully this could be the little something that gives Gervonta a little wake-up call to take him back to the mindset of maybe where he was.
Do you think New York State overturns it?
No, I don't think they do.
So should they at least call for an immediate rematch if they don't?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the reality is can the state call for an immediate rematch? I don't believe they can. The commission. It's really up to the governing body. I mean, the commission can overturn a decision or rule on a decision, but can they order a rematch? That really has to come from the governing body, the WBA, to say if you want to remain lightweight world champion. But everything I'm hearing is the rematch is going to happen anyway. Like, I think it's pretty much done.
Talk to us about the star power in this May 2nd card.
Yeah, I mean, you've got three of the hottest young fighters in terms of that, that social media presence, that digital presence, and the reach out of, that younger generation. Ryan Garcia, huge name. Devin Haney, huge name. Teofimo Lopez, huge name. And do you know what? What I like about it as well, they're all in real fights. I think, I love Rolly, I think he's a great character, but I think Ryan will deal with him well. There's a lot of mystique over the comeback of Devin Haney. Don't forget, it's going to be a year since the comeback. I think it's the right fight for him, but also at the same time, Ramírez is coming off a defeat. I think Teo's got a tough fight against Barboza. We just had him on our show, he won a close decision, but his confidence is going to be rising, and Teo is, like, I've got to say, I love Teofimo Lopez. He's well out there. I don't know what I'm just watching him walking around. I think, I want to be on your planet. Do you know what I'm saying? I want to be on Teofimo's planet. But that's actually a tough fight.
Eddie, now that we've seen Gervonta, challenged in the ring with a great boxer, how do you feel that the Shakur fight will go?
Listen, no disrespect, but it's only now. I mean, you guys know how good Shakur is, but it's only now after Saturday people are going, oh yeah, I think Shakur can beat Tank. We've known it for ages. Like, I have so much confidence of Shakur Stevenson beating Gervonta Davis. But they're two of the best lightweights in the world. They're two of the best fighters in America. It's a natural fight to make. The only thing I'll say is I think the Lamont Roach fight gave PBC another option. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm hearing he'd agreed to fight Jake Paul. which is just the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's boxing. But actually, the draw gives him another opponent in a bigger fight, because it's a much bigger fight now, right? So they've come out of it okay, because now they've got another option for later in the year to go back to the same arena or Atlanta or wherever they're going to go and make a much bigger fight, the rematch against Lamont Roach.
Absolutely. And Eddie, do you think we ever see a Shakur versus Keyshawn Davis?
No, they're like best mates. I mean, he's told me he would never fight Keyshawn.
No chances.
I don't. I mean, that's one for the guys. But the way I see it, no way.
I mean, Turkey got the bag though. You think if Turkey throws him a
Yeah,
good bag,
no,
he's
they're
out?
very loyal to each other. They're very close, and I doubt it. I think for me, the best fight in the division, what I'd like to see is Shakur Stevenson against Gervonta Davis and Keyshawn Davis against Andy Cruz, and the winners fight the winners.
Hey Eddie, so with these type of infrastructures that are being set up, a lot of people want to ask, how do you guys make money off an event something like this? Like, is there just
No, I think for that, look, everybody's different, aren't they? When you're running a promotional business, like, you rely on the numbers, you rely on the business, you rely on the balance sheet. When you're doing this, there is a bigger meaning. When you're doing Riyadh season, there's the value of Riyadh season around the world. When you're doing this is the Ring magazine. So this is a push for the Ring magazine. That's what it is. And I think obviously it's different to us running the event from a balance sheet perspective, but also the way that this event's being run. I don't think I think it's going to do very well. I think you've got big pay-per-view draws on the card. I think the numbers are going to be good, but obviously that's less of a necessity in certain situations than it might be in other promoter situations.
I'm sure you've spoken to Devin Haney. People believe that this is a tough fight for him coming back. Where do you think he is at speaking to him mentally?
I don't talk that much to Devin. I mean, I'm really fond of him, and I think he's a great competitor. I think that it's going to be an interesting comeback. I think it's a good opponent. I think Ramirez is a solid test, not a puncher, not dangerous, but very competent. And I think the style will really suit Devin, so I think it's a great fight for him to come back to. And as we understand it, the fight has been made between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia for after, which is incredible. And also, that's what I'm seeing with His Excellency, is like, this is not just about sitting down with a fighter and saying, right, you're fighting then. It's him, then him, then him. So there's no secret that he wants Teofimo to fight Boots, all right, in October. Should Boots beat Stanionis on April the 12th in Atlantic City? So everyone's got a plan. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney fight May the 2nd, then they fight each other. Canelo fights May 3rd, then he fights Crawford. Do you know what I mean? So I think fighters like that. They like the plan.
Is the reason that this fight is free and 42nd is because Canelo does fight the next day, and it'll be harsh for us to pay two times?
I'm sure there'll be something going on with a broadcaster, but this is more for the Ring magazine. This is an advert for the magazine, the product of the Ring moving forward.
Eddie, I gotta ask you about Hategate with Chris Eubank and Conor Benn.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I was like, first of all, I thought it was a glass, because at the time you don't think it's an egg, do you know what I mean? So I'm there, I just hear this crash over his head, all this stuff goes everywhere, and it's like, what the hell's going on? So I was pretty mad at the time, I've got to be honest with you, but then afterwards, you see it's on the front page, the back page, every page, and we sold 60,000 tickets in the first day. So the event is huge, another Ring magazine Fatal Fury event, and just going to be epic. It's a real bad blood fight, and bad blood sells. But yeah, I don't believe, you see it again today with KSI and Dylan Dennis. We do a lot of work in the community with grassroots. We're really trying to make kids understand what boxing is all about. And you don't raise your hand to an opponent, you don't strike an opponent at a press conference. We all want beef, right? You guys love it, it's great, but actually, for me there's a line, he crossed it, he don't care, he certainly don't care what I say, but it'll all be decided April 26th.
Hey Eddie, what do you think about the Billy King stuff that's going on with the Top Rank and Daniel Cunningham with Tyson Fury? Are you familiar with?
Do you know, I haven't really seen too much on it. I've seen it floating around, but we concentrate on our own business and our own TV deals and go from there.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on a few fighters getting sick in Saudi during Riyadh season?
Nothing. I mean, you get, unfortunately, you get sick everywhere. Like Floyd Schofield, when we talk about getting sick, Was he sick? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't represent him, so I don't really know what happened. I know there's some wild allegations from the get-go, none of which really made sense. Did he even want? Shakur said to me, he will not fight me. And when he turned up in Saudi, I texted Shakur. I said, "Told you, your boy's here." He said he won't get in the ring with me. I'm like, it's 5 days away. And when it happened, he weren't even surprised. He went, "I told you." But Daniel Dubois was getting double-digit millions for that fight. Like, trust me, he was devastated. And you're travelling around. Sometimes you can get, an infection, whatever it is. So, we're not seeing loads of people getting sick. We're seeing one guy, which we don't really know what happened, and another guy had a viral infection.
Eddie, I gotta switching gears a little bit. I just gotta ask. So last year, September, Edgar Berlanga had one of the biggest fights that he could ever imagine. Huge payday, Vegas. In a week, we see him in Orlando, Caribe Royale. So it begs the question: what do you say to folks who say, how do you go from headlining a main event to being a co-feature on somebody else's card?
Yeah. This is a really transparent situation, so I'll just give it to you straight.
Sure.
When he fought Canelo Alvarez, he wanted a comeback fight, right? And the comeback fight really was not like a headline event. It was just, if I get beat, I want a chance just to have a quick win and then go into a big fight. So in Edgar Berlanga's contract, there was a provision for a comeback fight on an undercard in a straightforward fight. Okay? When he fought Canelo and did really well, and his profile rose, we then spoke to Edgar Berlanga and Keith Connolly about the possibility of headlining in Puerto Rico. We tried to do a different kind of deal. We spoke to DAZN. We ran out of time. So in the end, it was like, we're out of time. Let's just revert to the contract, get that one done, and then we'll move into a big fight. So when people say, is there a fallout? There was probably 24, 48 hours of,
I'm a free agent.
Yeah, but he's a free agent after this fight. And if he does want to go elsewhere, we've done the most incredible job for him. I'll shake his hand and I'll say good luck. I hope he spends the rest of his career with Matchroom. But what we're doing is we're honouring our contract instead of not giving him a fight and it all, mixing up. So it's not an ideal situation, but he's going to go in, hopefully look good in Orlando, and then we're going to put him in, hopefully, with Caleb Plant, with Charlo. He's a big name, he's a great fighter, and I think he's got a huge amount to give to the sport. But I wasn't prepared to not honour our contract and just fall out of not giving any fight and then kick him down the road till the summer, because he needs to fight, get this win, and then move into a big fight.
Shakur Stevenson, has he talked about any plans he's got about how he's going to handle the back?
Yeah, I mean, when he came into the office the other day, he said, I really need to work on strengthening my hands. He says that really he can only fight twice a year. And the reality is, I would like a fighter as young as him to fight 3 times a year. So we're looking at the moment. Any ideas you got, let me know. Yeah. But it's he's had surgery. To be fair to him, the turnaround was very quick after the surgery. So in an ideal world, we would have liked a little bit longer. But really, he's 27 years old. He's a 3-division world champion. He's never broke sweat. You know what I'm saying? He's a special fighter.
So does that mean he's going to take a little longer for him to get his next fight?
Yeah, he'd probably fight like September time, something like that. But
Eddie,
that's what we want. We want Zepeda, but I don't know. I don't think they're crazy on that fight.
Eddie, Kambosos fights next week.
Yeah.
If he's successful.
So Kambosos, he fights 2 weeks this Saturday coming against Daud Yordan. It's actually a very tough fight. I'll tell you guys now. If George Kambosos wins, he's going to fight Richardson Hitchens for the world title. And we'll probably do that in New York. And it will be a big event. I mean, we've had Kambosos here before when he beat Teo.
Right.
Hitchens, those guys are talking great smack. So March 22nd is a big show for us in Sydney. And I'll say now on record, if George Kambosos beats Yordan, he will fight Richardson Hitchens in May or June in New York.
What about Teo? I know Hitchens and Teo.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really even get into any negotiations about the unification. But, for me, when we talk about a plan for a fighter, I'll say this about Kambosos and about Hitchens. If we make Kambosos against Hitchens, the winner should unify against Teofimo Lopez, right? If it's Hitchens, you've got 2 kids out of Brooklyn, 2 great American undefeated fighters, Hitchens undefeated fighters. If it's Kambosos, you got the rematch of probably one of the most bad blood fights you've ever seen and one of the brilliant events just around the corner here. So for me, when I'm talking to both guys, I'm saying Kambosos, you win on March 22nd in Sydney, you fight Hitchens. You beat Hitchens, you fight Teo. Hitchens, you bite Kambosos, you win that, you unify against Teofimo.
At what point did you know that you wanted to sign Josh Padley when his name was dropped as a Shakur opponent?
I just like stories. Like, I know Josh Padley had a good win on the Riyadh season card in Wembley, and when we needed an opponent, I went to His Excellency with 3 guys. He went, I remember him, let's have Padley. And from there, the whole story of him dropping his tools, do you know what I mean? Coming out, obviously he made life-changing money. And also from there, the crowd, like when he got introed, you could hear the crowd in the arena like, yeah, we know about Josh Padley, go Josh Padley. And I thought, you know what, this kid can fight. And like when I spoke to Shakur, he said, I'm telling you, this kid's a good fighter. So let's give him a chance, let's run the story. And I like kids with stories like that, you know. Let's give him opportunities and see where we get to.
And what do you think about
that was probably the happiest we've seen you when the announcement was made. Do you want to see a part?
Bivol Beterbiev was probably the best fight I've ever seen up close. It was the best performance I've ever seen up close. And I'll tell you one thing now, when you look at that pound for pound list, right, Usyk is the undeniable number 1. But when you look at Crawford and Inoue, who are both generational great fighters, the reality is it's not their fault. Who are the big wins? Errol Spence. Errol Spence was like, he weren't in that. It was still a good win, but you look at Bivol, he beat Canelo Alvarez, the pound for pound number 1. In my opinion, he beat Beterbiev the first time, but if not, the second fight, he beat pound for pound top 5 and the undisputed champion. He's also beat José Ramírez, the unified champion now, like easy. For me, he should be pound for pound number 2, you know?
Eddie, what's the update with